today. It's Ashley Bratton, Director of Church Growth and Development for Redemption Fellowship. So happy that you're joining us for our monthly webinar. You know the deal. Every single month on the third Wednesday at 10:30 Pacific time, we have our monthly webinar. We try to do content that you guys have requested, of resources that you want. So we're so excited today to have our very own children's pastor from Redemption in San Jose, Morgan Atkins. Listen, she is unbelievable. Not only does she have degrees. She's a college grad. She graduated from grad school. She has a business degree. She's been in marketing. She's worked for Chick-fil-A. She's worked for marketing firms. She's been all over the map. But guess what? God called her to ministry. And now she's doing her thing and making her impact in kids ministry. The reason why I wanted her to be on the webinar today is she has such a unique perspective. This whole past year, she has spent rebuilding basically a ministry. Redemption has only been in the Bay Area about 2 years. And so here's some of the things that she's been involved in her first year. Number one, she's recruited and developed some amazing teams, stacked some teams. She's shifted culture and has a thriving, exciting, awesome culture now. She has done a whole entire, building renovation, been a part of that. And Corona, she's now a content creator, right? She's a YouTuber and just does all the things now that online church does, but for kids, and her team have done an awesome job. But her perspective and her passion are both key, and I thought it would be so beneficial. So without further ado, we welcome you, Morgan. Thanks for joining us today. We're so excited. We know that you're going to be able to speak not only to smaller churches, but bigger churches, nonprofits. The principles that you cover today, I know, are going to reach a vast audience. So thanks again. Welcome. We're excited for you to be here.
Thank you, Ashley. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. So like she said, yes, I have been with Redemption since August of 2019. I'm so excited. Pastor Ron and Hope had an incredible opportunity, and it is such an honor and privilege to be trusted with this ministry, especially with where it is at right now. When I came in, the first weekend that I was in the Bay Area in San Jose starting this job was actually the weekend of our expansion offering. So last year, they took up an expansion offering with a goal of raising $1 million to remodel our children's building. And our congregation met and exceeded that goal. It was absolutely incredible. We partnered up with Worlds of Wow to have our building remodeled. And so I literally came in to like the biggest construction project I've ever been a part of in my life. So it was really exciting, but I have experience in project management, and this is obviously like a huge project to manage. So I know that probably was playing a part in what all I was taking on, but I feel like the reason that Pastor Ron and Hope really wanted me to come in there was because they had been in the Bay Area at the San Jose campus since 2018, so for a year already, but they hadn't really had the time or taken the time to invest in the children's ministry. You kind of have to do one thing at a time when you're completely rebuilding an entire church. And so they brought me in to look at that specific area that had pretty much not even been touched yet. And so I embarked on the incredible journey of rebuilding this children's ministry. So I have heard a leadership principle over the years through my studies and stuff, and it's basically the concept is it's not about what you have, it's about who you have. And coming in to the person on the outside looking in, it looked like I had a lot of really incredible things going on. What most people saw was a brand new, $1 million building remodel filled with play structures and themed colors with eye-catching logos and gaming stations and all the latest audio and video equipment. Like, it looks awesome. However, if you don't have the culture and the fun and the love of Jesus on the inside, in the volunteers, in the kids, in the staff, like all the people on the inside, then do you really have anything at all? And so I don't care how big your building is or what type of equipment you have, no matter where you're at, no matter where you're starting, you can still make something incredible. Because you know what I saw? I didn't see a what when I came in. I saw a who. And who I saw was a team of faithful volunteers who have been serving with this ministry for many years. But they were lacking vision and direction. They were hungry for something fresh and something new. And I also saw a team of newer volunteers who lacked training. They felt underutilized, and they were not certain what the win was when they showed up to serve in the classroom. So I really felt like these were my opportunities. These were the people that I was really coming in to impact and to work with and to train, because that's what needed to be done. Because no matter how big our building is, it's about what's on the inside. And then the other thing I saw were the kids who they had been coming for years, or maybe they were brand new. We have a lot of unchurched in our area. And so there's new believers coming in every week, but there was something missing in the classroom. These kids honestly were desperately in need of fun. Like they had the Jesus, they had the lessons, they were learning about Jesus and all of that. But like if kids aren't having fun and enjoying what's happening, they're probably not listening to you, and they're probably not taking in a lot of what they're hearing. And so I knew right off the bat, like the certain areas that I needed to focus on. So that's what I'll go through with you guys today, is talking about kind of how I did that, what the order is that I went in to be able to build into these volunteers, see who I had, and create that fun experience for kids. I grew up in the church. My mom was a worship pastor. My dad was always involved in ministry. And I remember being at church literally 24/7 as a kid. If I wasn't at school, we were at the church for choir practice or this or that, whatever it is. But I don't remember it being the most fun thing ever. Like like we had Sunday school and different things like that. But I don't remember really like enjoying it as much on the day-to-day basis or the week-to-week basis. But I do remember every year my parents would send me to summer camp. And summer camp was literally my favorite time of year. It was a Christian summer camp. So it was a kids' church camp. It was a kids' camp. And that's actually where I ended up getting saved as a kid. Like I declared my life for Jesus when I was at summer camp, because I believe it was the place that I enjoyed the most. Like I had the fun factor was there. The Jesus factor was there. I was still getting the word in me, but there were people there that cared about me, my camp counselors that wanted to pour the word into me, but also wanted to show me unconditional love and show me what it's like that being a Christian can be fun. And so that's honestly what I want to show our kids today. That's what I want to bring into the classroom. I want the kids, when they come to church on Sunday or whatever day of the week that we have service, that they feel like they're going to summer camp every single week. And if we can create an environment where our teachers in the classrooms are not teachers, they're more like summer camp counselors, like the cool people that you would want to hang out with at summer camp, I feel like that is going to create that fun factor where the kids come in and they enjoy being there. They look forward to being there, because you look forward to summer camp every single year. I want the kids to look forward to kids' church every single weekend. So that's kind of like how I was thinking about it when I'm looking at how I'm going to like bring the fun factor like back into the classroom. So there was that. I don't feel like it matters as much like how big or nice your building is. I know that we all are at different levels of development with our churches. Maybe some of you guys do have the big, awesome buildings, but maybe you don't have super huge buildings and you're making do with what you have. Honestly, it doesn't matter how big or nice your building is if you don't have a healthy culture and a team of committed volunteers who are excited to show up on time and engage with the kids in fun and relevant ways. Your kids' ministry is still not going to succeed. So I didn't care how awesome our building was. You could literally have a church in the corner of a strip mall with a few small classrooms in the back and make the kids feel like they're at Disney World every single time they walk down the hallway if you have the right people in the room. Basically, as a leader and like with the background and the, leadership development and different things that I've been through, I realized that it was impossible to build the ministry alone. If you're doing things alone, you're not really leading, because who's following you? So the first thing that I needed to do was I needed to figure out who was going to be my team that I could put in place, that I could think with, the team that I could dream with and plan with. Because I was brand new to the Bay Area. I was brand new to Redemption. I didn't really know anybody. I kind of knew like pastors and their family, but that was pretty much it. And so when it came to the kids ministry itself, I really had to start focusing on, okay, who can I get around me that I can create this environment with? So, since I was rebuilding the department completely from scratch, or since I wasn't rebuilding the department completely from scratch, like I kind of already had a volunteer base built up from the previous leadership, which was super helpful. So some of you guys are probably in different levels of development when it comes to your volunteer bases, which is totally fine. I had like, I don't know, we probably had like 40 or so pretty committed volunteers that I could depend on. And so that's where I chose to start. If you don't have that many volunteers, like that's okay. You kind of have to look at it a different way from recruiting, but I also had to look at recruiting. Like I couldn't just stay where we were with the amount of people that we had, but I did have a few people that I could start with. Now, if you are starting from scratch, the process is going to look a little different, but I'm going to go through some principles right now that can apply either way. So the first book that I'm going to reference is called Good to Great. It's by Jim Collins. Basically, he compares an organization to a bus, and the leaders of the organization are the bus drivers. So before deciding where you're going to drive your bus, you have to decide who you want on your bus and which seat you need to get them in. So I have a link that we will share with you guys, but it basically goes to a video of him explaining the whole concept of first what I was going to do. Like, obviously I knew that I needed to like build this super awesome kids ministry, but I did have to start with thinking about like, all right, who can I do this with? Because I can't build it by myself. So I came up, or he has 4 steps, and I'm going to go through the 4 steps and talk about how it applied and how I used it for when I was building the kids ministry. So step 1, you have to get the right people in the room. So Jim Collins, in his book, Good to Great, he talks about organizations like Wells Fargo and different types of companies. And those are all like for-profit, nonprofit companies, but I'm going to talk more from like a volunteer-based church organization perspective. So for ministry, it's less about the hiring process, and it's more about the quality time that you spend with your volunteers to discover who you already have in the room. So like I said, I already had a volunteer base built up, so I had to spend quality time in the classrooms with the volunteers, just getting to know them. The first, I think, couple weekends that I was there, I planned this big taco party is what I called it. So basically we had a taco truck come out, and I fed it was like over 100 people showed up. I don't even think we had 100 volunteers at that time, but they heard we were giving away free tacos and they were super down. So I just had to come up with some way to start getting to know my volunteers. And so I just put it out there. You can come, you can hear what I have to say. I want to introduce myself. And that's kind of how I started building that relationship. Now, that was just the start, but I also had to get in the classroom. I had to see what the teachers were already doing, what they already knew, what they didn't know. And honestly, I had a lot of people coming out of the word work and like coming to me, and they're like eager and they're hungry and they're like, we're excited that you're here. Like coming into a new environment can be also a little bit scary, because you can think like, are they going to like me? Are they going to accept the things that I'm wanting to do? But I was really, overwhelmed with the culture and the love that like came from the people that were already there, because they were hungry for something new and they wanted to see what they could do to help. So the people that came to me during that first taco party, one of them I actually ended up hiring as one of my department heads later, because I could tell how eager she was to be a part of the ministry. She was actually a mom who they had attended a church in Hawaii, but her husband had gotten a job here in the Bay Area. So they moved to the Bay Area for his job. They found redemption, and the kids used to love their church in Hawaii. And she, like, they were all involved in kids church. They loved it, but they came to church here, and the kids were not super excited to go to church anymore. And she was super confused why. And so she's like, you guys used to love church. Like, why don't you like church? So the mom started serving in the classroom to find out what was like, why their kids didn't like it. Like she thought it was just her kids, but she got in the classroom and she's like, oh, okay. Like I could see some improvements that can be made. So she reached out to me. I had a phone call with her. She came to me, first of all, at the taco party. She told me she had some suggestions, some conversations she wanted to have. I had a conversation with her on the phone afterwards, and I found out that this was someone that she was a stay-at-home mom. She had another part-time job, but she was hungry for more, and she wanted to help make our department better. And so maybe you guys if you don't have the ability to like hire someone right now, that's okay. But look at your parents that you have that might be coming to you with suggestions for ways that their kids might enjoy the classroom more, and take what they're saying, because kids are going to be your best feedback, and their parents are going to be the second best feedback, because they're going to come and tell you what their kids are telling them. So I took that for what it was, and now she's helping me build my entire elementary department. And we have a large majority of our volunteer base are parents. In the church I was previously at, a large majority of our volunteers were young adults. And so it was kind of different for me coming into this environment now, but I love it because they have, like, who better to tell you about what you can do with your kids, the parents that are actually living with the kids every day in and day out. So that's basically the staff that I've built around me. So look at who you have. What kind of people do you look for in kids ministry? So like I just said, parents. Obviously, parents are great people to look for. If you're recruiting, or if you're already having people in there, if you're starting from scratch or rebuilding, this would still apply. Also look at people that parents would recommend. Sometimes there's people that, like, parents nanny. I have a girl who literally half of my parents use her as their nanny. So she definitely serves with our babies, because I hear her as like our number one babysitter in the church. So look at parent recommendations. For us, we're also doing online iKids now and things like that. So also look at people who are involved in like local theater or acting and stuff like that, because they're going to be good to be hosting the lessons in the classrooms. They'll be really good at interacting with the kids and doing the skits or the puppet shows or whatever it is. So looking at local theater. Also look for middle school, high school, college students who have a reputation of being good with kids, or they show interest in kid-related activities or areas of study. So like we have a couple universities around us. So we're looking at creating an internship program right now. And so we're looking at those who are studying early childhood development, or now we're looking into the ones that are studying production and other things like that, because we're producing our own kids show, but it'll be different depending on what you're looking for. But students are great resources. Other people who have led VBS in the past, have led summer camps, maybe they've only served for like special events, see if they would want to commit to maybe once a week or once a month serving with you. Also, people that work for your local rec departments, have that experience with kids, are great in the classroom. And of course, teachers and educators that are in your church. If you have people that are already teachers, a lot of my teachers in my early childhood department are also preschool teachers. We have one who, she actually lost her job at her preschool during coronavirus, like during this whole shutdown thing, which is very unfortunate, but she's been one of our top ones to help us with our content that we're creating for early childhood. So those that have the heart for the preschoolers, that have the heart for the younger ones, are going to be the ones that you want to look at to have in your classrooms, because they're also going to be willing to give that extra time. So that's, first of all, you just have to get the right people in the room. Number two, I would say get the right people in the right seats is also important. You have a lot of different options in kids ministry for where people can serve. And you don't have to fill all of your seats at once. I had a big project in front of me when I took this on, and I felt a little overwhelmed sometimes because I knew that I couldn't do it all at once, but I wanted to do so much. So you kind of have to take one thing at a time, and knowing that it may take some time is okay. It's a process, and God gives us the grace for the time and the space that he needs us to work in. So you need to take time to get to know your team so that you make sure that you're allowing them to operate in the position where their gifts and their talents can flourish. Maybe they've been serving with babies for 5 years, but really they love to, lead the elementary kids in praise and worship, or do a puppet show for the 4 and 5-year-olds. Look at the people that you have, and maybe if they kind of seem like they're unhappy in the position they've been in, or they're brand new coming in and don't even know where to start, look at the gifts and talents that they already have and see where it is that you think they would flourish best. So taking the time to get to know your people to do that can be literally a make or break it thing, because that's going to be, you can tell when someone's enjoying what they're doing, and the kids can tell. I heard it saying the other day in this show that I was watching, but it said kids are pure instinct. And so kids know whether or not you're being genuine. So that's why it's so important for us to make sure who we have in the classroom with them are actually the people that want to be there, because the kids are going to know. We can also give leadership responsibilities to those who want more. Say you can't do everything yourself. You can create a tiered structure or system to where you have volunteers taking on more responsibilities and taking on more leadership in the classroom. So that way the weight isn't all on you. Even if you don't have a huge staff that can do it, you can get your volunteers to do that. So that's another position that you can put them in, another seat you can put them in. Everyone was created for a purpose, we all the different parts of the body are important. And so we have to find that place where we all fit best. So get the right people in the right seats. Number 3, get the wrong people off the bus. So I know this is something that people don't want to talk about. And this is something that's a little bit harder, but it is something that I did have to deal with. So when you're rebuilding, there may be people who are just not the right fit for your department or ministry. And that's okay. There's literally nothing wrong with that. I had people step down from serving with us when I first came in, but I had to make a decision to not let it discourage me. A lot of times it wasn't personal to me. They just hadn't been happy for a while, and the transition was almost an opportunity for them to be like, okay, you know what? I think I really would rather enjoy serving in the social media department or whatever it may be. And so I was more than happy to help them find that place, because again, in the previous step, we're helping people find their right seat in our department. We want to make sure if there's people already in our department that don't want to be there, that we encourage them to serve where they are going to enjoy serving. Because again, kids can tell whether or not they want to be there. So God's going to always work things out for good. And he's going to make a way, for the new to come into the church or to the area of your church. And then number 4, always put who before what. So once you have the right people on the bus, you're free to make decisions through the who before what lens. So when you're confronted with any problem or opportunity, shift your decision making from the what question, what should we do, into a who decision. Who would be the right person to take responsibility for this? So delegating. There might be a ton of things on your plate and a ton of things that you have to think about. And so you're like, what do I do now? What do I do with this or that? But maybe you need to stop thinking about what all you have to do and think about who you can get to take on that responsibility. That's been a huge thing that God's been teaching me in this last season, because I do have staff on my team that I can work with, but we at sometimes can find ourselves operating out of our own strength and trying to do it all instead of thinking about the volunteers that we have who can take on more responsibility. So just being able to kind of think a little bit differently was really helpful for me, and it's really helped me kind of shift from feeling all the weight on my own shoulders and being able to share that weight with others who are usually eager to be helping you. If I did everything I was responsible for, I would never be able to get it all done either. It would literally be impossible. So by delegating and getting other people to help, I literally can get more done. So that's just been helpful. Okay, so that's, for helpful tips on how do you get the right people in the right room. But now that I have my who or my team, I'm going to kind of go through telling you guys about what I did to begin building that team. So like I said, at the very beginning when I came in, probably from August to December, I spent that whole time just getting to know my team. I did make some changes. We did some recruiting. We call it the draft. It's when we, once or twice a year, the whole church does this big initiative where we get a lot of new volunteers to sign up to serve on the dream team. And so we did a draft and I built that team up, but then I had all these people and then I didn't know what to do with them. So now that I have my who, I have to figure out what we're going to do. So it was time to build my team. Building an effective and cohesive team does not require a ton of like intellectual insight and like you have to come up with all these tactics, but it really comes down to courage and persistence. Teamwork also gives people a sense of connection and belonging, which ultimately makes them better parents, siblings, friends, neighbors. So by building better teams, we're creating an impact that goes beyond the four walls of our church for the volunteers that are serving with us each week. So what I did was this past January, I started planning what was called our first annual Redemption Kids Vision Summit. I had led a couple Vision Summits before at previous organizations that I worked for, where I took leadership teams on it's like a 3-day offsite where you go through leadership material together, and I had seen how it had been really effective. And so I decided that in order to get my team all on the same page, that was going to be what we were going to have to do. And in the position that I was in, I was really tempted to like just take my staff at first, but then I realized that I don't have, a huge staff. I am very fortunate and very blessed to have staff under me, but I knew that if we were really going to accomplish what it is that God had called us to do, I needed to look at my key volunteers who were really standing out and who were hungry for leadership. So in February of this year, I took, I think it was 12 staff and volunteers, and we went to an Airbnb in the middle of Northern California, and for 2 nights and 3 days, we went through what is called the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team Field Guide. It's written by Patrick Lencioni. So he wrote the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a really great book. I would recommend all of you guys read it if you are leading a team of any sort. But there's a field guide that goes with the book, and it's so helpful because if you've never done an offsite before with your team, it literally walks you through step by step every single thing that you need to do, down to the hour. Like the field guide, I sent Ashley the attachment, the PDF, so she can send it out to all of you. But literally it says all the exercises that you do, and it's like spend 30 minutes on this, spend an hour on this. And it gives you suggestions for activities. But it was a huge like game changer for my team because prior to the Vision Summit, we were a team, but we weren't really a functioning, powerful, cohesive team yet. Like we were able to get some things done, but we weren't all on the same page, and you could tell. But it's just because there are certain things that teams have to go through in order to get to a place of trusting each other, of being willing to be vulnerable, of understanding each other's heart. Like we're all Christians here, so you want to believe the best and do all of that, but sometimes it can be hard, especially when you're in the middle of rebuilding a ministry and emotions get heightened and there's confusion, there's misunderstandings and different things like that. And so by going through something like this offsite, we were able to really get to know each other on another level that made us be on another level to be able to perform like unlike any way we've ever been able to perform before. So this, like I said, that book, it provides a powerful model and actionable steps that can be used. You learn how to like overcome common hurdles that many teams face, and it walks you through what it looks like to build a cohesive, effective team in any organizational setting. So this can be for your corporate team or for your like main leadership team or for your kids' church leadership team, either one. We've actually talked to our executive pastor about taking our main leadership team through a similar offsite as well. And so this isn't something that we're just doing for kids church. It's something that can apply to anybody. So we used the field guide that accompanied the book. We followed the step-by-step process, literally step-by-step. It took us through vulnerability exercises, trust building exercises, team building, goal setting. And then at the end, we actually had discussions that led to our team establishing a vision statement for Redemption Kids. And we're going to use that vision statement for years to come. Like many people talk about for your organization having mission statement, vision statement, and cultural values. So Pastor Ron and Hope have already established our mission statement. It's where many become one. And we also have cultural values that go with Bible verses that we all follow as a church. So when we were at the summit, we didn't necessarily focus on what are our, cultural values going to be, what are our mission statements going to be, because we already have that. Like we're underneath of Pastor Ron's covering. So we're following his lead on that, but we needed to come up with what the vision for Redemption Kids was going to be. So what we came up with, we had Pastor Hope, I think she's prophetic, obviously. So when we were redesigning the building, she had the building redesigned before I came in, and she had this thing put on the wall, and it said, "We grow kids God's way," and there's like a tree next to it. And it's like cute and catchy. And so I asked her, I was like, "Is that like the vision statement for the kids ministry, or like, what is that?" And she was like, "Yeah, like, I guess so, And so when we were at Vision Summit, one of the last phases that you go through when you follow the field guide is you do goal setting. So kind of like, what do we want to accomplish here? But when we were establishing the vision statement, that's what we started with. The We Grow Kids God's Way. And so we ended up coming up with a vision statement that built on that. So what we ended with is we grow kids God's way by creating a safe place for kids to have fun, build relationship with God and others, discover their purpose, and learn to walk in kingdom identity. So there were 5 key things we wanted to focus on in the ministry. Number 1 is safe. So that's why we create a safe place for kids. Number 2 is for kids to have fun. Because like I said at the beginning, if the kids are not having fun, they're probably not going to listen to anything that you're saying. And so that's why I don't know if you guys have seen any of our iKids videos that we've made, but we made this one video that has literally blown up on YouTube, and it's called Dab When You Sneeze. And so basically we wanted to teach the kids how to cover their nose when they sneeze, because we're learning all about germs right now and being safe if we're sick. And so we taught them, like, if they sneeze, they needed to do like a dab. And so we made a song out of it. And now, like, my little cousin in Florida watches it, and she texted me and she said that her son tells everyone that they have to dab when they sneeze. And like, he does it when he sneezes, but he makes everyone else do it too. And so the kids, we created a fun way for kids to learn how to do something that now their germs won't get all over each other. So that's kind of like, when we think about anything, we're thinking through the lens of our vision statement. So that the fun factor, that was number 2. So we have safety, we have fun, we have relationships. So we want kids to build a relationship with God first and foremost, but then have the opportunity to build a relationship with each other. So that's where like our small groups come in, which we call our kids crews. So we have our small groups, and then discover their purpose. So obviously every kid was created with a purpose, and during the time that they're in kids church, we want them to discover that they were created for a purpose, and then what that purpose was. And then number 5 is kingdom identity. So Pastor Ron really has that kingdom message that he preaches. And so we want to bring his kingdom message into the kids ministry as well. So not only are our adults and our parents learning, kingdom principles, we want the kids to learn that as well. So as we start developing our own curriculum in the years to come, that's something we're going to keep in mind. But in what we're doing right now, that's also something that we always try to keep at the forefront of, like, when we're filtering things through. So that was a win that came out of our, Ashley just shared the dab when you sneeze video, just for your enjoyment. That's going to be the highlight of your day, I promise. So that's one of the big wins that came out of our Vision Summit, was we did come up with our vision statement, but it's not just something cool that we put on the back of our t-shirts, although we are going to do that. It's something that we now can filter everything that we do through. It's also, we established a level of trust between our teammates, and now we have this powerful group of people, the group I was looking for, that now I can think with, I can dream with, and I can plan for the future with. So we created a think tank out of this Vision Summit. So it's this group of 12 people that went, and now we have meetings every other week where I meet with my think tank, and that's the team that we talk about special events. We talk about right now content we're creating for online, but also our grand opening and just different stuff. So whatever you're doing in your kids ministry, you need a team of people around you that you can plan your events with. It also helps with getting buy-in. If you're the one making all the decisions and making all the plans yourself, and then you're just telling everyone what you're doing, the people aren't going to be as bought in because were not involved in the planning process. So if you can get people involved in the planning process to any extent, it's going to help them be more excited about what you're doing, because they're going to feel like they took part in it, and they're all going to want to tell their friends about it too. So this team is the team that I really needed to start with. Like I said, it's 12 people, but you don't have to have that many people. Jesus only had 12, so I don't think I can handle any more than that. So that's why I kind of limited myself. But you can have, 3 people. I have 3 girls that are probably like my closest to me, that I do like the majority of my thinking with. But then once we get on a track, then we take it to the big team. So you probably are going to have like different circles of people that you're going to be discussing different things with. And when it comes to like topics that are specific to my elementary classes, I have an elementary team that I focus on stuff with. In early childhood, I'll have my early childhood team. So I've also kind of created little pods of people that I talk with about stuff depending on what the subject is. So that's really helpful. Currently, I'm also taking my team through, we have a book, it's called Leading Not Normal Volunteers. We're trying to really grow in our leadership of our volunteers, and you can, like, leading volunteers is different than leading staff because they're not paid to be there. So you have to always be casting the vision, and vision leaks. And so you have to make sure that you keep in front of them what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it 24/7. And so it takes a different level of leadership to be able to lead volunteers. So if you're running your children's department 100% off of volunteers, then you are seriously doing amazing, because that's not easy. Like, that's definitely takes some talent, and that's what I know, that's what my team is growing in right now, is we're learning how to do that better. So it's called Leading Not Normal Volunteers. It's by Sue Miller and Adam Duckworth. I actually got that book at the Orange conference, or it was like an Orange, it wasn't the full conference, it was like their little ones that they did. They came to Southern California last year and we went to it. So that was one of the books I bought at the Orange conference. So there's different curriculums. I'm sure you guys have looked into different ones. At the end of this, I'll go through all my curriculums. Actually, I'm about to do it right now. So I can tell you I've done a little bit of research. I don't know everything for sure. I'll tell you what we found has worked for us, but you can take it for what it is. The name of the game for me this year is all volunteers. I knew when coming in last year, like I said, who before what, I had to figure out who I was going to be working with before I could decide what I was going to do. And so I kind of just decided when I was doing my own personal growth and leadership development that 2020, I'm going to be focusing on the people. So since I'm 100% focusing on creating this team of committed volunteers, and equipping them, training them, and making sure that they're confident of what their win is when they're serving with us, that means I need training videos and curriculum resources that are already developed and have been proven effective. So I'm not taking the time and the resources away from me and my team to develop this stuff. I'm doing research and having my team do research on stuff that has already been developed. The number one best resource I have found since being in kids ministry is open.life.church. So Life Church created an online resource site. It's their open site, and they have kids curriculum, they have training videos, they have worship videos, pretty much anything that you can think of, and it's all 100% free. They have the Life Church curriculum on there. They have Elevation eKids curriculum. They have New Spring, Kid Spring. they have they might have Hillsong. I think they have some Hillsong stuff, some different things. So you can go, there's a couple other churches too that have put their resources on there. So if you need free resources, that is like the place to start. I chose to go that route when it comes to my curriculum. However, there are other options. There's the Orange curriculum. I went to, like I said, that Orange, it was like a 1-day thing that I went to. So it wasn't the full-on conference that they just had in April, but it was one at the end of last year. So I did look into Orange curriculum. We were going to use the Orange VBS curriculum for our summer camp this year. We're actually not doing summer camp this year. We're looking into what Ashley sent out last week from Highlands, where they're doing the virtual summer camp. So we might actually be doing that one too. So you guys already have that resource. That was super cool that she sent it out. So there's different options for summer camp. But yeah, I was looking into Orange for that. They have some cool things, but they are pricey. And so I really didn't want to invest a ton of financial resources into curriculum right now, just because I knew that the open resource, the Life Church one, was available. And so I'm, wanting to keep my resources in my spending in other areas. And so that I didn't want to like be that extra. That was just not an expense I wanted to incur at the moment. But what we decided to do for our open resources was, one, when you go to the website, create a free account. Super easy. And then go to the resources tab, and then there's categories. So one of the categories is kids, obviously. So you can go to the kids category. You can also, instead of clicking on the kids category in the resources dropdown, you can go to something called schedule. And Life Church already has a schedule planned out for when they do each of their lessons. So what we've been following since January of this year is their schedule. We're about to change it in June or July, because they're doing At the Movies, and we're streaming all of our content online. And so we can't use movie clips from actual movies because of licensing purposes. So we're having to go a different route. But previously, from January until now, what we've been doing is we've been following the schedule that they have on there, and we're doing those that curriculum. So for early childhood, we are following the Bible App for Kids curriculum. You can go to BibleAppForKids.com, and it's amazing. You can download the actual app. It is the kids version of the YouVersion Bible app. So if you do Bible plans on the YouVersion Bible app, this is just the kids version of that. It is so cool because they created a preschool curriculum that you can do in the classroom. They have curriculum videos. That's what we've been showing. They give you a list of all of the resources that you need to do to accompany it. There's this thing called an adventure bag that the girl in the video has, and you can actually order an adventure bag on Amazon, and we did. And when the kids saw it in the classroom, you should have seen their faces. They thought it was like the coolest thing ever because they're seeing this thing from a video come to real life in the classroom. So anything you can do to kind of bring the videos to life, if you are using video curriculum in the classroom, especially for the younger ones, is always a win. So for early childhood, that's what we did or have been doing, and we're going to continue doing it. It's 2 years worth of content. So they do a new unit every month, and the units follow the Bible app for kids. You can download the videos, you can stream the videos from YouTube. Even now, since we've been doing church at home, they started creating church at home videos for those. We are gonna start creating our own early childhood videos using that curriculum still, but you can access the ones that are already online for free too. In June, we're starting Unit 6, which is called The Donkey and the King. But there's downloadable resources for parents. So there's like coloring pages, there's parent guides, all of that. So it's, like I said, 2 years worth of curriculum. So for the rest of this year and all of next year, that is 100% what I have planned for early childhood. I am working on building up my early childhood team, and we might start developing our own curriculum in the future. However, developing early childhood curriculum is a lot of work. It's a big undertaking because you need animators and all kinds of craziness. And so we're kind of, like I said, deciding where to invest our resources. And that's not a place that I feel like is really necessary right now, just because there's such good content already created right here that we can use for free. So that's early childhood. For elementary, we have our elementary classes split into 2 different age groups. So we have first and second grade in one room, and we have third through fifth grade in another at our San Jose campus, our Bay Area campus. At our Raleigh campus, we have first through fifth grade all together in one room. So depending on your age groups and how you split up your classrooms, even for us, it's different depending on the amount of space that we have. We have 2 different curriculums that kids can follow. We have all of our iKids resources online on our YouTube, so you can check out, when I'm talking about all of this, you can see literally exactly what we're talking about. I have a playlist for each age group. But for first through second grade, we use Life Church's curriculum called Connect HQ, and it's for the elementary age kids. In June, on their schedule that they have on there, they're doing a bunch of reruns. And so instead of following their schedule, I looked for a Connect HQ curriculum that ties into the word that Pastor Ron's preaching. So right now he's preaching on now what, and so it's all about wisdom. And so I looked for a series on wisdom. So in June, we're going to take the kids through a series on wisdom because their parents are learning about wisdom. So why not let the kids learn about wisdom? It's really cool on Life Church's website too. You can filter the subject, like if you're searching in the kids' curriculum, you can filter like by subject. So if your pastor is about to preach on Proverbs or on wisdom, you can literally type wisdom in there and it'll show you all the different kids' curriculums that are based on wisdom. Or maybe you're about to do a series on love or giving or something like that. If you can type in what it is that the subject matter is, and you can find curriculum resources that tie into that. So if you wanted to have kids' church in line with big church, it's really cool. Especially around like Christmas and Easter, there's a lot of themed curriculums and stuff too. So like I said, we're about to do wisdom. And a cool thing about Life Church's curriculum is they also have a Bible plan on the YouVersion Bible app for elementary kids. So if your kids, the littler early childhood kids, which we do early childhood ages 2 years to kindergarten. Once they hit first grade and they're in elementary, they bump up to the elementary group. But the Bible app for kids is good for the ones below kindergarten. Once they get into first grade, get them to download the actual YouVersion Bible app that we all use, or like the adults use too. And that's where you can find these Bible plans. So Connect HQ has a Bible plan that goes with their wisdom series. It's called Wise Guys. So you can search Wise Guys Connect and it'll show up on your Bible plan, and the kids can go through the Bible plan at home and then have their curriculum that they watch on the weekends or that they do in class. And then for our third through fifth grade, we have made a more recent change. Instead of getting all elementary to do the same curriculum, we have bumped them up to a curriculum that Life Church technically considers it as their preteen curriculum for fifth and sixth graders. But when I was at the Orange Conference, I sat in a session about preteens and like how important it is to really capture kids at that age. Kids are always going to be willing to age up before they'll age down. So if you have a fifth grader watching a third grade video, they're going to check out and they're not going to pay attention. But if you have a third grader watching a fifth grade video, it's kind of like the little sibling that wants to do what their older sibling is doing. They're going to tune into it. So Life Church has created this fifth and sixth grade curriculum called The Loop Show, and it is styled after a YouTuber. Like, so something that's really popular for kids these days is they get on YouTube and they watch these people sit in their house and like do the most random things. Like they'll literally watch people's reactions to different things, or I don't know, like it blows my mind what kids are watching these days. So the Loop Show has taken this format and they created this curriculum that it looks like these 2 YouTubers like doing all of this random stuff. Like they had this music guy come on the other day and they were listening to like, they took worship music, but then they played it as like heavy metal rock and like country western, and like they just do all these funny things with the videos. So the Loop Show has been a huge hit for our older elementary kids, our third through fifth graders. So in June, I'm going to take them through the Loop Shows series on Proverbs. So they're also going to be learning about wisdom. And there is also Loop Show Bible plans on the YouVersion Bible app. So it's called God Can Give You Wisdom. So they have Bible plans that go with their curriculum. So it gives them something to do throughout the week that goes with what they're learning on the weekends. And like I said, on our YouTube, you can literally search Redemption Kids on YouTube and you'll find all of these. So you can get examples of kind of what our curriculum looks like. But that's what we do for all of that. We also have a special needs ministry. We've recently, for our special needs ministry, signed up for the Champions Club. And so that's where we're getting our curriculum and we're setting up our classrooms. That's a whole, special needs ministry is a whole nother conversation. I have a department head that oversees that, along with a couple other departments. But yeah, so we're using Champions Club for our special needs ministry. We have a program called Dream Kids that we're developing right now. It's for kids whose parents serve on the Dream Team. So if they're there for more than one service, we have an extra classroom where we bring the kids in during their second service that they're there. We give them snacks and we let them do other activities. We're going to start using that classroom as an area to let kids get involved in what we're doing for iKids. So they'll be able to kind of like be in the shows and different things like that. We're also creating an influencer program where we're going to we already have some youth that like to serve in the classroom. So if they're in 6th grade, so you graduate from Kids Church once you go into 6th grade, but if they want to still be in the classroom for one of the services and help, they're going to become an influencer. And so we're using that verbiage because that's really popular in the world today. But basically we let them understand that like as a older kid in the classroom, like as a middle schooler, like you have influence over the younger kids. And so it kind of calls them to another level of responsibility and leadership. So we're developing an influencer program right now for our youth that want to serve with the kids. I had asked Ashley if it would be relevant to talk about our iKids and our online services. It's something I'll touch on super quick. I know we don't have a ton of extra time, but it's basically we just started doing it 9 weeks ago. When all of this happened, we started creating weekend services. Now that we're 9 weeks into it, I have my whole team. They probably are tired of hearing about it, but we're looking at analytics. And I'm looking at what's working, what's not working, what are our most viewed videos, what times of, like, you can look at one single video and you can see, like, your viewer engagement. So, like, did kids scrub through this part because they didn't really care and they wanted to get to a different part? You can see all of that. So if you are doing online services and you're trying to figure out whether or not you should continue doing it once you go back, I would say look at your analytics and make decisions that way. We started doing a couple things at the beginning of this that didn't get a ton of engagement, and so we've dropped them. And so we're taking it for what it is. We're not taking it personal. Like, I was doing this thing called Superhero Workout Wednesday, where every Wednesday we would post this superhero workout. Kids didn't really want to watch that, so I'm not going to keep investing my time in that. But kids loved our germ jams and our songs and our dab when you sneeze. So I'm working with our worship team now, and we're going to start recording kids choreographing and doing songs and dances for Redemption Kids. So the stuff that works, spend more time there, invest more into that, get your cross-functional teams involved. I have our worship pastors and our producer on the line this morning, like hammering that out. And so in July, apparently it takes 6 weeks to produce something like this, which is crazy. But in July, we're going to start releasing Redemption Kids Worship. We're getting licensed with Spotify and Apple Music right now. So we can have our drum jams online. But there's different things you can do, but I would say kind of just look at your analytics, see what's working, what's not, and don't spend time on things that kids aren't actually wanting to see. Because we all have limited hours in a day. So we want to use our time wisely. I put on the outline I sent Ashley, we have our YouTube, we have a Pinterest. I find random kids activities and just throw them on our Redemption Kids Pinterest on a regular basis. I have all my staff doing that too. I have a list of podcasts, leadership podcasts that I listen to. I'm getting my team to listen to as well. We can send you guys that list. I also have a list of Instagrams. I follow a bunch of different kids church Instagrams as well as kids brands. It's always good to not just follow other kids churches, but follow other brands. Bible App for Kids has their own Instagram. They post cool Bible quotes, but also follow like Disney and Disney World and Pixar, because they post some cool ideas, especially during the pandemic. They've been getting really creative. Disney posted a video of a guy doing a story time, and he was reading a Marvel book, and they had the pictures of the book on the screen, and then this kid in the bottom right corner like reading the book. We did that for our preschool kids, and we read Bible stories to them. But that was like an idea that like we saw on Disney. I sent it to our video editor, and I was like, hey, can you do this? And he was like, oh yeah, super easy. So not everyone has the same abilities, but you can get inspired by the secular world just as much as you can get inspired by the church world as well. And just tailor it. We did Bible stories instead of Marvel stories. Just tailor it to what you're doing. The last thing I was going to talk about was like our COVID-19 reopening plan. I know some of you might have already started reopening your churches at this point. Some with kids church, some without. What I'm doing for us, we have not started reopening at all, but Raleigh is thinking about doing it. So I am having conversations with them. I'm looking at new training videos for all of my volunteers. I was already needing to come up with training videos to begin with. And so I'm redoing all of that, policies, procedures, opening and closing procedures. The volunteers are really going to be, their responsibilities in the classroom are going to change. Not only are they coming in there to teach, but they're also going to be helping us clean. So we're going to make sure we have cleaning supplies and things like that in the classroom, cleaning between services, more single-use items, prepackaged items. When it comes to if we're doing snacks, we don't want people handling all the food, so can we get baggies of snacks or, hand sanitizer? For snacks, we only do veggie straws in the classroom. We were doing goldfish, but we needed to do dairy-free and gluten-free. So we've cut down our snacks to only veggie straws and water. For the kids that are in there, like I said, we have our Dream Kids program. If they're there for 2 services and their parents don't pack them a lunch, we have a separate room we take them to and we give them more snacks. But if they're just there for 1 service, then we only do snack time for our early childhood kids, so kindergarten and down. Baby room, we do have puffs too. They can do puffs because they can't always do veggie straws. But yeah, for a reopening plan, we're kind of looking at just reestablishing our policies and procedures, but over communication is key. Individual calls to your volunteers are super effective. When we're about to reopen, I'm literally going to have my team calling every single volunteer to prep them for what is to come. People have a lot of questions. They're wondering, there's a lot of question marks right now. So over communicating what your plan is for your volunteers as well as your parents is going to be key, making sure everyone is on the same page. They know what to expect. Reigniting the fire, no one is served for like 2 months. And so we need to check in with them. We need to pray with them. We need to cast vision, define the opportunities that we have now, and then call them into action. People want to help. People want to get involved again, but they need to know what you need from them. So figure out what you need from them and then just communicate with them. So that is all that I have, I think.
You are the best ever, Morgan. You are awesome. Well, I think we accomplished the goal today. I know we've talked several times back and forth, and we wanted to share, a broad spectrum on whether they're little or big church, on how they can have an amazing kids ministry. And I know we have a lot of kids ministry pastors on here and volunteers that joined us today. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And Morgan, that was unbelievable. I know you sent me all the notes, and so we'll definitely we'll send you the recording of today as well as the recap. And I'm sorry, I got disconnected earlier. We're having a bad storm here, and it randomly, that's never happened before. But anyway, thankfully it didn't cut off this, and it's still been recording. So hopefully we're good with that. But I did put the link to the survey in chat. Morgan has a huge collection of all the books that she's referenced today, and she's putting together a giveaway. We're gonna, if you give it the winner, once we get your address, we'll send it directly to your house, and that way you'll have all those awesome resources that she mentioned today. But yeah, we love your feedback. That helps us plan and keep giving you guys relevant content. So I did want to remind you, obviously we do this the third Wednesday of every month, same time, same place. And next month, where I'll be speaking, and I'm actually talking about community reach, how to solve key issues that make you valuable. So we want to give you resources to help you stand out in your city. Your cities are all trying to solve a bunch of problems right now, and you know what? You got what it takes to solve a lot of those problems. So we're excited about using that to point people to Jesus. So as we close, I want you guys to make sure you click on that link right now, because if you don't, once we end the session, it'll go away, and I want you to be eligible to win. And Morgan, thank you so much for coming, for sharing your heart and sharing everything that God's taught you, all you've learned. I know you took a lot of experience from before ministry and then now in ministry, and God's using you to do big things in the Bay Area and all over. So thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yay! Well, listen, we knew it was a ton of content. I told her to go for it. I was like, I would rather give everybody lots of resources than do it short and sweet. So thanks for sticking in with us today. We'll send the recap out soon. Until next month, see you guys soon. Bye.